get rid of it. I like it. Doesn't look good. Yeah. I want to sort of attach this with. Not great.
Page 10.
גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's wonderful to be together in our sanctuary, and it's wonderful to be joined online by so many of you, by your clicking on that link that brings the stream of this service right into your home. You are extending the place of our Mishkan right into where you are. And so welcome. And it's great to be with the two of you and to be with you, Rabbi Wademaker, on this
Rabbi
night.
Morrison.
One of the wonderful and shared privileges of participating in our community is that we all have the opportunity to encounter so many remarkable people who comprise our congregation. Because of my position, and because I am a new member, I've had the great good fortune of meeting so many wonderful congregants in a very short period of time. If you are new to our congregation, new to our community, and are interested in meeting other congregants, let me or my colleagues know, for we will introduce you to some amazing people. Our name, Beth Am, a house of people, emphasizes how it is our people here who transform this house into a home welcoming to all who may enter. And in this moment before we light candles together and welcome Shabbat, it is my pleasure to honor with a blessing to mark their 60th wedding anniversary two congregants who, through their participation and leadership in our synagogue for almost 40 years, have not only made Beth Am into a home for themselves and their family, but for so many others as well. Marilyn and Ron Schilling met in Brooklyn when they were 14 and 15 years old and attended rival high schools. At a school mixer, she noticed him. 6 feet, 2 inches tall, crew cut, handsome. They started talking. They danced together. It was a wonderful night. But then, a few months later, he didn't ask her to his senior prom. She was crushed. But don't worry. The good Jewish boy that he was, he did tshuva, and that summer sent her a postcard. A man of few words, at least then. The message on that postcard, pithy, Smooth. 5 words. I'll see you in September. All then was forgiven. They dated and were married on December 24th, 1961. When I asked the Schillings how did they get from Brooklyn to California, Marilyn responded with a charming bit of Brooklyn attitude and said, "Do you have an atlas? From New York to Jersey to Scottsdale to Milwaukee and finally to Silicon Valley. Ron and Marilyn's relationship deepened as they raised 3 children, and in each city to which they moved because of Ron's work, they joined synagogues and were builders of Jewish community. And in these moments, we celebrate their love and the joy that they continually discover in their relationship with a blessing on our bima. So I want to invite the 2 of you forward along with your family and stand with me by the ark. And although I will be opening the ark, I invite all of you to remain seated. He was tall. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless this couple on this, or almost this, the anniversary of their marriage. May the 2 of you reflect with deep gratitude upon the years that have passed. Many and varied have been your experiences since that moment when you met in high school. May you recall the joys that have sweetened your lives. May you be thankful for the strength that allowed you to weather the storms that shook you to your very roots. God, you have been with this couple through all their years together. So may you continue to bless them with your presence in the years to come. Yivarechechem Adonai v'yishmorchem. May God bless you and keep you. Yer Adonai panav elechem v'chunechem. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elechem v'yasem lechem shalom. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. And we join together in this blessing of great celebration. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, elanu.
Okay. And in honor of this great moment, thank you for joining us and for leading us in blessings. We continue together on page 2. Yeah. Just lift up the whole thing.
Oh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You can take off your mask if you want.
Page 5.
Yeah. Do you want to take off your mask? It's up to you.
Sorry?
Do you want to take off your mask or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. We continue on page 5 with Kiddush.
Baruch Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzav b'nu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'yahavav ratzon hinfilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki banu v'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yahavav ratzon hinkaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. I put very little in there. Yeah. Don't finish it.
Yeah.
Saved my life last.
Ah,
I should go on.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all, of course.
We'll continue our service as we celebrate this beautiful couple. We celebrate a different kind of bride, the bride of Shabbat. We welcome Shabbat each week with the same majesty as if it were a bride. The Chadodi is on page 20 or 138. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Shabbat nekabela. Shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzola tochemune am segola moi chala. Shah
Yai, dai, 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 dai.
On page 28 or 146, we'll sing together our call to worship, our call to prayer. Baruch Hu. Continue with words of love, Ahavat Olam, page 32 or 150.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Nasiach v'chukecha, v'nismach v'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Chayenu, rech yameinu, u'ahem negei yomam v'layla, Yomam v'layla. Cha'al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You can be seated. Turn to words of Ve'ahavta on page 36 or 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Continue our song of redemption, of the possibility of freedom from those things that perhaps constrict us or hold us back in our lives. Redemption is always possible, page 40 or 158.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. No ra tehilot, o sefele, no ra tehilot, o sefele, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Malchutecha rahu banecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'elianu ve'amru, ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. No ra tehilot, o sefele, no ra tehilot, o sefele, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed.
On page 42, words of protection in tenuous times. For the rabbis who composed these words and assigned the time of day at which they were to be said, it was darkness that was tenuous. The darkness that sort of seemed to creep in all around them when you wouldn't leave your house because that was where the light was. And certainly in these days and in our world today, with the brokenness in our world, but the light and the warmth in here, we say this prayer that we might lie down in peace and rise up to a renewed sense of purpose and life. Certainly powerful words as we sing them in this space, but take them out into our world with us. Take the warmth and the light of this place out into the world with us. Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, le'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Baruch atah Adonai Haporei Sukkot, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
We pray that we may walk in the garden of a purposeful life, our own powers in touch with the power of the world. Join us for Tefillah, which begins on page 46, and please rise.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la la la.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekahayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol.
Page 52.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue privately. And when you have completed your prayer, please be seated.
Please join me on page 60. Yehiyu lo ratzon imrefi ve'egyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri ve'goali Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi ve'egyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri ve'goali May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable, be acceptable. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi ve'egyon libi lefanecha Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Vegoali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable, be acceptable. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yehu l'ratzon imrefi, vehyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Vegoali.
On page 253, we turn to our prayer for healing, Misha Berach. Those two words, it sometimes strikes me, don't actually have anything to do with healing. Misha Berach, may the one who blessed, because the beginning of the prayer recalls the merits of our ancestors, right? May the one who blessed our ancestors, our fathers, our mothers, those who came before us, bring and bestow blessing and healing on us. Perhaps we appeal to God based on the merits of those who came before us. Hey, we have a relationship, God, with you. So take care of these people for whom we care so dearly. So we'll sing these words of healing and send prayers of strength and comfort and healing, not just on the merits of our ancestors, but we take our merits and pray that they are enough to bring a source of strength and healing to us and to all who are in need of healing. This week we're thinking of David Ben-Ami, Ginny Anderson, Jerry Blum, Renee Budak, Pat Daly, Diane Denenberg, Liz Dietz, Kathleen Duncan, Emily Duncan Horning, Mary Lou Garfinkel, Selena Glader, Diana Guthaner, Barbara Heiken, Nechama Bat Hinda, Dorothy Huppert, Moritz Huppert, Marvin Jones, Joan Carlin, Aaron Levinson, Stan Myers, Alex Nissenberg, Ashra Ozturk, Faye Ellen Perlis, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Kathy Pressman, Adel Razel, Sue Rehut, Jonathan Sachs, David Baruch Ben Simona, Matthew Smith, Donna Spanger, Hillary Cohen Streeter, and Nicole Gent Wickenheiser. And of course, I invite you to add the names of those who you're sending healing to tonight as well. Misha Berach is on page 253 or 371.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Dear Zachra Bilou, allow me to introduce myself, as we have never met. I'm the senior rabbi of Congregation Beth Am, the largest synagogue on the peninsula. We're a community of 1,400 families located in Silicon Valley. I'm writing in response to the disturbing, potentially dangerous, and certainly anti-Semitic speech that you delivered on November 27th in Chicago at an event hosted by American Muslims for Palestine. Much of what you said about Zionists has been said before. If you were to replace your repeated use of the word Zionists with the word Jews, your remarks reveal the dog whistle that you employed in a poor attempt to obscure classic anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. In this way, your speech, comprising well-worn anti-Semitic tropes, was nothing new. However, there was one creative component in your rhetoric of hate. In a twisted sense, I might call it an innovation. To my knowledge, you potentially added a new phrase to the insidious lexicon of anti-Semitism when you warned your audience about, quote, polite Zionists. As you declared, when we talk about Islamophobia, we think oftentimes about the vehement fascists. By this statement, I think you meant extreme right-wing Zionists. You then continued, I also want us to pay attention to the polite Zionists, the Anti-Defamation League, Jewish federations, Hillel, and Zionist synagogues. The ones that say, quote, let's just break bread together. They are not your friends. Disgusted as I was by your words, this phrase, polite Zionists, which was new to my ears, made me realize that, well, I am a polite Zionist. Before I learned of your speech, I had not really thought of myself in those terms, and my understanding of what exactly a polite Zionist is certainly very different from your own. But if the shoe fits, I am a polite Zionist. I don't generally shout about my commitment to and love of Israel. I never tweet. I distrust slogans. I value civil discourse and debate, not only about Zionism, but about most topics. I care about nuance and worry when complex issues are viewed as binary. When public speakers in front of large crowds invoke the language of us and them, I get nervous. I spend considerable time crafting sermons about Zionism. I teach in synagogue settings about Israel, and as I imagine you would not infer, I also teach about the Palestinian Authority and about the difficult conditions for many Palestinians living in Gaza and the West Bank. I do all of these things, and from time to time, like many polite Zionists do, I write letters. But I've never written a letter like this one, a letter addressed to a member of the Muslim community regarding my reception of her speech, explaining to her, to you, Zachra, my polite Zionism. Please allow me to explain why this letter is an anomaly. As a leader of an American Jewish community, I do not believe it is my role to tell Palestinians what they should do in response to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I hope that Palestinian and Muslim leaders will teach facts about Israel and facts about Jewish history and the Holocaust, and that Palestinians will strive for peace with their Israeli neighbors. I imagine, which is to say, I hope that in the West Bank and Gaza, as well as here in America, there are Muslims and Palestinians who are equivalently concerned as I am about nuance, complexity, and peace. Despite these hopes, I have never addressed public comments to Palestinians or written a letter to a Muslim leader because I have no real influence over Palestinian communities and Palestinian actions. Instead, I focus my energies and time within the Jewish community that I lead, a community of, by and large, polite Zionists. In my community, we, together, develop a lifelong love, engagement, and commitment to Israel, a commitment that celebrates the evolution of a remarkable country. Often I will remind my congregants that as we thrive in this exceptional, unparalleled homeland for Jews, that America, after 245 years, is still an imperfect union. Comparatively, as I see it, Israel at 73 years young is in its early adolescence. It continues to figure out how to be both a Jewish and democratic country. As a modern nation state, this is Israel's unique feature and struggle. Despite the odds that seem increasingly stacked against it, I, like most polite Zionists, still consider a negotiated two-state solution as the only feasible resolution to this challenge. We polite Zionists love Israel. An important, I would even say sacred obligation of our, or of at least my love of Israel, is to insist that the Israeli government, in its domestic and foreign policy, strives to uphold the highest of Jewish and democratic values. And when it fails to do so, I have the responsibility to criticize it. For me, and for many but not all of my fellow polite Zionists, our relationship to the state of Israel bears many similarities to the patriotism that I practice here in America, a country that I love, led by a government that I will criticize when its actions at home and abroad do not live up to our democratic ideals. I was reminded of these ideals and of my patriotism as I watched your speech. The First Amendment protected your right to stand in a conference hall in the beautiful city of Chicago and spew hate about Jews. Yet I uphold your right to speak so grotesquely about me, as I too benefit from the protections of the First Amendment. But generally, polite Zionists do not view the world and consider solutions to its problems solely through the lens of self-interest. Or rather, many polite Zionists recognize that our security as Jews in America and in Israel is inextricably linked to the safety of all peoples. We believe it is dependent on us to build alliances with other minorities in this country in order to create a society free from anti-Semitism, racism, and, I will add, Islamophobia. I would hope that in your role as the executive director of the San Francisco office of the Council on American Islamic Relations, an organization that seeks to protect civil rights and to promote justice, that you would understand our common interests. However, to your audience in Chicago, you asserted that most mainstream Jewish organizations and synagogues are, quote, your enemies, who will stab you in the back at the first opportunity. You called the idea of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict laughable. What's more, your divisive language was not only aimed at Jews, as you also attacked Muslim institutions who work with organizations supporting Israel as being, quote, in some ways worse than the Zionists. As I listened to your screed, a stream of what is often called unprintable language came to my mind. In this letter, however, I will politely say that your comments struck me as counterproductive, not only to the relationships between Muslims and Jews in America, but also deleterious to the national aspirations of Palestinians. Here's how. During this period here in America and abroad, when strident voices on the left and on the right, both within and beyond the Jewish community, are pulling us apart, we, polite Zionists, are working diligently to hold the center. And please do not mistake our politesse for lockstep agreement. We have our disagreements and debates. For evidence, simply look at the often acrimonious relationship between supporters of J Street and AIPAC, two organizations that during this time of extreme polarization increasingly define the center of Jewish communal Zionism. Although these organizations are publicly at odds with each other, they do share a commitment to a negotiated settlement between Palestinians and Israelis. We are holding the center. Unlike vehement right-wing Zionists, our polite Zionism is predicated upon our Jewish moral sensibilities and our commitment to human dignity and human rights. Unlike vocal anti-Zionists and supporters of the BDS movement, we understand the nuances of American foreign policy, how the United States government's commitment to a strategic alliance with the democratic and Jewish state of Israel works to secure the liberties and constitutional rights that we benefit from as religious minorities living in America. And what you might label a Zionist conspiracy, I consider a political reality. As centrists and institutionalists, we, polite Zionists, have power and influence. Furthermore, many of us polite Zionists are invested in the national aspirations of Palestinians, but not at the cost of Israel's security and its Jewish identity. In other words, an alliance with us, with polite Zionists, who are capable of envisioning two peoples living at peace with each other, is in your self-interest as an American Muslim dedicated to the human rights of Palestinians. Zahra, I know that you likely disagree with much of what I have written in this letter. I would be happy to meet with you to discuss our differences. For me, disagreements are an opening for dialogue and for learning. But there is one thing that I know we agree upon. Each of us is an adherent of profound, magnificent traditions wherein we turn to sacred texts for wisdom and guidance. This week, in synagogues around the world, we are concluding our reading of the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis. I know that you are familiar with this story, as it is a prominent narrative in the Quran, and Joseph is a revered prophet within Islam. Jewish tradition considers Joseph's father, Jacob, who dies in this week's Torah portion and who was blind in his old age, as a sage capable of seeing far beyond present realities. Rabbinic interpretation ascribes to Jacob the ability to perceive the good in the bad, to uncover the promise lying latent in crisis. As you might recall from the story of Joseph told in the book of Genesis, when Jacob's family is suffering from a famine in Canaan, he sends his sons to Egypt for rations. As the Torah states, Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt. In this verse, the Hebrew word for rations or grain is shever. But this word shever can also mean broken or shattered. If you change slightly one letter of the root of this Hebrew word, you arrive at the word sever, which in the Hebrew Bible can mean hope. Jacob saw that there was grain, shever, in Egypt. A rabbinic interpretation of this verse describes Jacob as seeing so much more than the fact that there was grain to be had in Egypt. Jacob sees hope, sever, in the midst of brokenness. As this midrash reads, Jacob saw that there was shever, brokenness, which was the famine in Canaan. But there was sever, hope, that is the plenty, the grain to be had in Egypt. There was shever, brokenness, when Joseph was taken down to Egypt. But there was sever, hope, for Joseph would become a ruler that would save a nation. There was shever, brokenness, for the Israelites would become enslaved in Egypt. But even then, Jacob maintained hope, sever, for in the end, Jacob saw that the Israelites would go free. What Jacob sees, according to this midrash, is a necessary relation between disaster and hope. Jacob sees that when things fall apart, when there is shever, the opportunity for sever, for hope, arises. Zachra, we are living together in the Bay Area at a time of great brokenness in our country and during a period of shattered relationships between two peoples, Israelis and Palestinians. Can you not see that there is a famine in our land, that we are starving from our denial of each other's humanity, that we are all starving for empathy? In this period of profound shever, I address this letter to you, motivated solely by sever, by hope, for dialogue, for mutual understanding. And above all, I address this letter to you with the hope for peace. Sincerely, after all, I am nothing if not polite, Rabbi Jeremy S. Morrison. Shabbat Shalom.
Turn now to words based in sever, in hope of a promising future. Aleinu l'shabeach on page 282 or 586. Please rise if you're able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekel al yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Page 287.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You can be seated. This piece is by Rabbi Chaim Stern. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. As I read the name of your loved one or friend, I invite you to rise in their honor and remain standing. This Shabbat, we are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Walter Jennings, Arlene Gilliland, and Anne Hunting Highmark. This Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death for Herman Abramson, Shalom Ben Agaronov, Charlotte Babb, Timmy Baranoff, Alexander Bernhardt, Isidore Bialik, Arnold Bieberman, Irving Birnbaum, Hyman Bloom, Dolores Borowitz, Gordon Alexander Brookstone, Maury Brownstein, Edward Frank Carr, Rose Ellen, Robert Emmerich, Myra Enkelis, William Felt, Irving Finkler, Sylvia Fisher, Joseph Fogel, Mildred Fogel, Adam Forrest, Isaac Gordon, Donna Gottdiener, Cynthia Gross, Warren Gerald Groen, Judy Haft, Sylvia Hurst, Ruth Hill, Ellis Hirsch, Marion Holtzman, Joseph Hyman, Paul Ilowski, Lester Kaplan, Moisey Karrasin, Blanche Katz, Laura Kirks, Meryl Kramer, Morris Kretschmar, Barbara Lambden, Jenny Lefton, Herbert Levine, Maria Levitman, Bert Levitt, Jerome Lips, Albert Littman, Francis Magapinto, Zia Michelin, Eric M. Netter, Mildred Newman, Celia Panzer, Rose Pessin, Ralph Rabin, Evgeny Reznikov, Francis Risner, Marion Roth, Galia Rubenstein, Jack Ruby, Shlomo Sadoff, Gilda Samek, Sarah Skolnick, Randy Schultz, Boris Shkolnikov, Goodwin Goody Steinberg, Donald Sugarman, Patty Byram Ware, Jacob Weiss, Sally Whitna, Robert Wolf, and Tilly Zemlin. If there's someone whose name I haven't mentioned who you're thinking of this Shabbat, I invite you to rise and share their name. And we rise in support as a community of support and strength and turn to the words of Mourner's Kaddish on page 294, 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Can be seated. As you know, every month Betham picks a different tzedakah cause. This month, our tzedakah box donations are going to the Israeli Women's Network, which was founded in 1984 with the aim of promoting a better society in Israel through social equality, focusing on women's equality and creating the social, physical, economic, and judicial conditions for their prosperity. Encourage you to make a donation on your way out if you're here in person. You can also donate through Venmo now. Just use our handle at Beth-Am and just put in the memo that it's for the tzedakah box. You can also donate on our website as well. We have lots of ways for you to get your dollars into the hands of this important organization. In a moment, we'll conclude with Oseh Shalom, and we have one more special blessing to offer after Oseh Shalom as well.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
Please rise.
Ve'akol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen.
So it's certainly a night full of lots of different blessings. Certainly a mazel tov again to Ron and Marilyn on your anniversary. It's also my honor tonight to offer a special birthday blessing to our member Larry Wertman, who will be turning 70 this Sunday, December 19th. Many of us know Larry and immediately call to mind his kind and sweet demeanor. Think of him truly as a real mensch. If you know Larry, you may know that he loves teaching children magic and works at parties and camps to share his talents with others. But you may not know, and I only just learned this, that once upon a time he was a traveling magician, which once took him all the way to Kathmandu, Nepal, to perform at the Mount Everest Sheraton. Beth-Am has also been a very special place to him. His parents, Joyce and Charles, were founding members, and he really loves coming here and said that he's certainly glad to be back in person. As he turned 70, Larry told me that he feels like it happened really fast. I'm not quite there yet, but I hear what you're saying. And that he definitely feels younger than 70. He also said that he's excited for what the future may bring, and that even though the last couple of years have been hard for him and his family, especially after losing his mother, Joyce, last year, he's excited to have more free time in the coming years and maybe even take some trips. So Larry, I'd like to have you come up to offer you a special blessing. Right in the middle. Perfect. Here, I'm going to put this over here. So Larry, Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, ve'Leah. Larry, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, Larry, as you celebrate your 70th birthday. May your quiet kindness continue to bless those who know you, and may you find blessings in your relationships with your family and your friends. May you be blessed with health and strength, and may you continue to find magic in everyday moments. Larry, we say to you, Ad Mea Ve'esrim, may you live to 120. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
And Larry, we want to ask you to also lead us in motzi tonight. So here you go. We've got a special magic trick to reveal the challah. Ready? Very nice.
Okay.
Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. You get the
Shabbat
first,
shalom.
First
Have some.
take. Go for it.
Thank you.
Terrific. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom. Happy
everybody.
birthday,
Take good
Mazel tov.
care.
Congratulations.
Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, say shalom aleinu,